Hey, Vlad here, devinside.com, and today we're going to play around with lexical scopes. So scope is a self-explanatory word, and lexical means something related to other concepts of the programming language. In other words, it is something other parts of the programming language can understand and sort of deal with. Luckily, there aren't any other scopes apart from lexical scopes in programming, so usually we just use the word scope. What I have here is Windows Sketchpad, and if you know how to turn this thing less white, please let me know in the comments. So a typical metaphor for scopes is a box. Let me draw a box. Gonna watch me draw a freaking box. It's gonna be amazing. Trust me. Oh my god, isn't this the best box that you have ever seen? I should probably do some video game commentaries like that. Oh my god, this is so awesome. All right, so personally I don't believe that boxes are the best metaphor for scopes, but honestly I couldn't figure out anything better. So basically a whole program can be a box, and also everything inside of the program are also boxes, and a box is the same as a scope. And what you usually do is you put some data in and some data comes out. So usually in most tutorials, you would see some arrows going in and some arrows going out. Oh, I just realized the perfect metaphor for this would be an elf. Yes, an elf that that does our bidding. So it just sits there and you can ask him questions and he's gonna answer to you. So in most tutorials, these boxes, they can either be transparent or they can be completely black, basically denoting the fact that you can't really see what is happening inside of them. My god, I'm such an awesome painter. Yeah, so basically there could be things inside of that box, like there could be some other boxes, which I'm gonna draw right here. Another box over there. Yes, it's a box. It's a box. You can totally see that it's a box, can't you? All right. So some tutorials, they confine these boxes. They say, okay, there can only be one arrow in and only one arrow out. And if you always put the same data in, the same data, the same result is going to come out. So basically, the box will only be dependent on input and on nothing else. It's called referential transparency, but this is not what we're talking about here. We're just playing around with this whole idea of an entire application being a box or an elf who's just gonna answer our questions. So there's a way for us to put things in, and there's a way for us to take things out. Like for example in Linux, and I'm pretty sure in the Windows it's also the same. Every application has one input stream and one output stream, and also there's another one. There's also an error stream. Is there a way for me to change the color? Oh yes, there we go. So there's also an error stream, right? But this is not what we're talking about today. Like I don't want to get into details. I just want to hand wave a little, and we just want to play around with this concept, okay? So if you start thinking about applications in terms of boxes or elves, which is not something that I'm going to draw, then usually programs, they look like that. A lot of things come in, and you don't really see from which directions, and also a lot of things come out, and you also don't always see how. Also, sometimes the box or the elf wants things for himself, so he sends some requests somewhere else to some other box or elf. My god, they're just getting worse. All right, there you go. So he sends requests to somebody, to some other elf or some other box, and he expects replies. Also, sometimes you put something into a box and then it goes out and then it comes back in a few times, and so on. So basically, it's like this big mess. Right? Think about programs like this big mess. Okay, mass. Like garbage. Enough with drawing. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna open Chrome, right? Let's just open Chrome. Let me create a new instance of it over here. So This is Chrome, and Chrome is a box, right? So one obvious way to put data inside of it is to put a URL, right? So if I say devinsider.com, then this data comes in, and whatever Chrome has to do to give me some data back, it does it, and it gives me this data back, right? So if we were to go back to my picture of the box, it would be an arrow coming in and then also an arrow coming back. Okay. Also, Chrome, like most applications, it has it has settings, right? So I'm clicking that button. That also means that some data is coming in, right? Something goes into that box and says, hey, we click on that button, so something else has to come back, and this menu comes back, right? And then also something tells it, hey, my mouse hovered over bookmarks, so draw another menu, and so on and so on and so on. So if you go to settings, for example, all of these flags and twists and whatever, they're also stored in some file, or they might be stored in the cloud. So when we start Chrome, the first thing that happens is it either goes to the cloud or it goes to some file on your file system or into some local database and tries to figure out which settings you have. And basically, you start this box, and there is an arrow coming out of it. Or maybe actually coming inside of that box, and you don't even see it, and then it comes back. And by the way, all these arrows. So what we're talking about today is how the data flows inside of your program, and it's sometimes also called flow of control, right? And things like if statements, they control the flow. They say go this way or go that way. And also a loop is a way to control the flow. A loop would just keep doing things, right? So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to open my virtual machine, and there's Ubuntu running in there with the same background, so it's kind of hard to see. So if we open the terminal, then if I type something here, what is actually happening, right? So if I type something here, it says command not found, just blah blah blah, whatever I put in, it says command not found. So where does it look for things? How does it find commands? What is a command? So it turns out that on Ubuntu, every command is a program, and every program it has some sort of it's either one file or multiple files. It has some some entry file. So and there's this thing called path. So if I echo path, then I see a bunch of folders. So I see homeblat bin, right? I see homeblat.local bin. I see user local sbin, and so on and so on and so on. So what happens is, and the same thing is happening in Windows, by the way, which is what I'm going to show you in a few seconds. What happens is every time I type something, it looks for a file. So basically, it looks for a program in one of those directories. So my favorite text editor is Sublime, and I have it installed. So if I wanted to start it, I would type in subl. Let's do that actually. And now it opened my Sublime, and let's close it again. So what happens is that it actually found subl somewhere. Let's actually try this. See? This is what happens. So in user bin, there's a file called subl, where we have user bin here. So we have user bin here, right? So if I go into user bin, and I'm gonna say ll, and I'm gonna pipe it into grep subl, it's gonna say, yeah, it's over here. It's a file, and it has 51 bytes. If I go into there, it's gonna say. Right, so this is everything that is inside of that file. It says exec /opt sublime text blah blah blah. So if I go into cd opt sublime text just sublime text, right? And I did the same thing. Ll grep subl, not subl. In this case, I wanna grab sublime text. So I'm gonna see this. Okay, so let's look into that one right now. Cat sublime text, and you see all this garbage stuff, right? So all of a sudden it's not a text file, it's a binary file. And so I'm going to press Control C. So what we have here is an application called shell, right? That runs inside of my terminal, and maybe you should watch one of my Ubuntu tutorials to understand what I just said. So basically it sits there, and every time I type something in, it goes through all of these folders and looks for this application. So this is basically another arrow that it comes into this box called shell, and then it tries to figure stuff out and to give something back to me. Also, the same with was LL. LL is an alias, or it's a program, and if I say LL, it gives me everything that is inside of that folder. So if I take LL and give it an argument, right? So instead of just saying LL in that folder, because it basically says, the default arrow that is coming in is the current folder. But if I say LL home Vlad, then all of a sudden it prints out not the current directory, but some other directory. So basically I said, hey, this is a different arrow that comes in, and there's something else that comes out. So the path is modifiable. If you go into your home folder and you open .profile, which is a file with a text editor, with any text editor, you will see that it says that a path, the value of path, is home bin and home.local bin and so on. And also I installed Ruby for one of my previous videos, and what Ruby did is it went to this file and it added this line over here: export path equals whatever there is already in that variable path. Remember when I did echo $path and it just printed it out? So whatever is already in that variable, plus, and in this case, the addition is a colon, so plus whatever is in .rvm bin, right? So effectively what it did is it added this thing over here to whatever already was in path. And the .profile file is executed by the command interpreter for login shells. This file is not read by bash, blah, blah, blah. Basically, every time you're creating a new terminal, you're creating a new instance of a terminal, this file is read, this is added into my path, and this is why I can type in things like Ruby into my terminal, because the file called Ruby is inside of that folder, and that folder is on the path. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to exit this. We're going to create a folder called temp if it's not created already. Let's go into temp, and there's nothing inside. So inside of it, we're just gonna create a file called my script.sh. Okay. And if I do LL, we see it over here, and we want to make it executable. So we do sudo change mode +x my script, and whoops, hold up, my password, and there we go. So now it's green, and we see all of those X's. And if you don't understand what I'm saying right now, again, maybe you should watch the Ubuntu tutorial that I did, which explains all of that in detail. Okay, so this is the file, this is the script. So and now if we run it, actually, let's see what's happening. Oh, by the way, so if I were to write this, right, my script.sh, it would start doing the same. It would go to the path, right, which is this magical place, and it will start looking for a program called like that. But there is none. So it's going to say command not found. So this is like some sort of special thing, and which is also like what newcomers are struggling with to Ubuntu, is that they have to say I am in the current folder, and inside of it there is my script.sh. So now it's actually going to run it and says exact format error. There's nothing in there, so this is why it's failing. So let's open it with any text editor. I'm just going to open it with Vim, because all we're doing is we're going to write only a few lines in there. So the first line is just going to say that this is a script like that, bin bash, right? And then we're going to echo the first argument, right? And let's just save that. In fact, you know what? Let me open Gwake, and let me go back to temp. Oops, temp, and let me open the script, and now I can do this. And now at the bottom we have like another terminal, right? So this is our script over there. So now if I say run that script, right? So basically run this box and give it as an argument nothing, it's not going to do anything, right? But if I run it and I say first, it will actually print it out. So it understands that this is an arrow that came in. It got bound to the variable $1, and all that it's doing, it's printing it out, right? So let's just do another one just for fun, so that you understand what's happening. Let's echo $2, and yeah, let's save it. What? Oh, did I press caps lock? Oh, damn it. All right. So there we go. It's written. We're running it again with first and second, and now it shows first and second, and also first, second, and third third is not there, so nothing is happening, but it's also not that. And also, since we're already doing that, let me also show you that echo 0. Actually, let me put it over here. Echo 0 shows you the name of the program, right? So if you do first, second, third, it will say first, second, and then it will also give you the name of that program. Now what I'm going to show you is that this is actually kind of useful. So let me close that, and let me close that, and actually let's remove the whole folder. We don't really need it, and we don't need Ubuntu as well, right? So this is my Windows again. Let me show the desktop icons. So if I this is my computer, it's called Agile Home. So if I do right click, go to Properties, and I go to Advanced System Settings. And by the way, this thing has been the same since Windows probably 98, right? So there is this button called Environment Variables. Okay, so again, we say right-click, Properties, Advanced System Settings, and Environment Variables. So we have the environment variables for me, and we also have the environment variables for the entire system. And they also have a variable called path. What a big surprise. Oh, by the way, one of the cool things in Windows 10 is that they did that thing that once I click Edit, it actually shows it to me very beautifully, because in the past it would show it to me only like that. And as you can see, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You see C program data Oracle Java Java pass, and then there's a semicolon, right? So it's basically it's going to search for things over here, and then it's going to search for things over there, and so on. So in Windows 10, if I click Edit, I actually see it like that as a table, and I can actually add things to it. So by default, there are things like, Windows System 32, right? Actually, let's go into Windows System 32. So I open that, see, Windows System 32. System 32. So basically, whatever file is laying in here, right? Like for example, this ACU.exe. I have no idea what that file is, but if I were to press the Windows button and R, this would open this run command, right? And then whatever I type in here, it will search for this in that path, basically the same as in Ubuntu, right? So if I were to type this, whatever it was, I lost it again. Whatever, let's take this appidtelexe. Let's just hope that it's not going to kill me. idtel.exe. It's going to run it. See, it ran something, then it closed again because it's probably like a terminal application, but whatever. So what's fun is that CMD is actually over here. So this is what is happening every time you do CMD, and this thing opens. It goes to the path, right? It finds this thing and opens this application. So what I did is I was playing around with this so much that I found it useful. So what I did was, as you can see here, I added few of my own folders. So I added this folder, and in that folder, what I started putting inside were shortcuts, right? So if you go into that folder, let's go there. So we go to D, BDSync, AgileNet, util. I just called it path. So there is common and there is Agile Home. Let's go to common, right? So all the shortcuts over here, I can run them by just doing this, right? I just do this. And for example, if I say D, it will open the file explorer on my D hard drive. And if I do, for example, GIMP over here, right? I just do GIMP. Then it starts GIMP, which is a software for editing images. That was probably a bad choice because it took a while to open it, right? Or if I open GG, for example, right? GG opens Chrome. GG, Chrome is open, right? Let's close it again, right? So this is actually kind of useful. And what I ended up doing is, so I'm using this application called BDSync. It used to be called BDSync, now it's called ResiliaSync. And it's similar to Dropbox or Google Drive or this Microsoft OneDrive or whatever. So I'm synchronizing this folder to all of my computers. And if I put shortcuts in there that are the same on both of my computers, I put them in here. If it's something that is going to work only on my home computer, I'm put it here. If it's something that only works on my work computer, that I only put it here. And then at my home computer, I put in into the past the common folder and my home computer folder. And at work, I do the common one and the work one. And this allows me this quick access to things, right? So I can just do path, and it opens the path folder, which is already open here. Let's close it. Path, right? Or steel, which opens my my home folder, and so on. You can see a bunch of applications for this, right? And all of this comes from this idea of these programs being like boxes and like putting things inside, and things would come out. This is how data flows in applications. Let me show you one last thing before we finish this video. Actually, cancel. Let's do this. Let's go for Chrome, and let's open file location. Okay, so this is where Chrome is. Let's create a shortcut. Okay, and let's put it on a desktop. Okay, so it's over here. So if I actually go and right click on it, go to properties, over here it says target, right? And the target is, it's a shortcut for Chrome, right? So my Chrome is under C, program, whatever. If I go in the end and I say, I don't know, youtube.com. Let's do https://youtube.com. Apply. Okay, what is going to happen if I run Chrome? It actually opens YouTube, right? As the first thing, it opens YouTube. So again, this is yet another arrow to sneak your data into an application. All right, so this was a very hand-wavy video which explains, sort of, one of the very fundamental concepts in programming, right? So don't get confused by it, right? I just wanted to play around, I just wanted to make like a kind of fun video for you. I'm gonna explain, actually, you know what? Let me show you one last thing. Let me go to Ubuntu again and open Sublime, and it has this Python application that we wrote a few videos back, and it has those things, those functions here, right? And those functions are basically boxes, right? So it says this is the arrow that comes in, this is the data that comes in, it comes out, and this is what comes back, right? Comes in, comes out. So over here we're printing out whatever this box returns to us, right? So we're calling this box by giving it the current hour, and what it gives us back, the arrow that comes back is the string. It's something o'clock, so I'm asleep or I'm awake, right? Yeah, so that was definitely the last thing that I wanted to show you guys. I hope you like this video. Subscribe if you want to learn more about programming, and see you next time. Cheers.